folks, hope you're having a good day. I wanted to talk about the day after TDOR, or Trans Day of Remembrance. And the reason this is on my mind is because when I woke up today, I just felt so low and completely and utterly emotionally and mentally drained and flat. And I spent a few hours thinking that I shouldn't feel this way because I had no reason, there are inverted commas there, couldn't see. I had no reason to feel that way. But after some reflection, yeah, we've got a lot of reasons to feel that way. That's really an incredibly valid way to feel, and if anything, it's amazing that I would expect to not feel down. For Trans Day of Remembrance, I walked through town in this, which I love this hoodie, it's fantastic, and I felt like I wanted to be visible for those who couldn't be yesterday. But that comes with some serious risks. So the entire way walking through town, I was pushing thoughts out of my mind about what I'd do if I got attacked, or how badly I'd have to hurt somebody to survive. And even though nothing happened and I took a fairly well-lit and busy street on my route, thinking like that and worrying about your safety so consistently is exhausting. It's absolutely draining. And I mean, it's not like that thought doesn't cross my mind every other day as well, but it's really highlighted on that day. While I was at the meeting, I was very painfully aware of the large glass windows behind me, and every so often I'd have to get rid of the thought that somebody could just come in with a gun. And things like that do happen. Things like that happen, unfortunately, quite often. Being in a space that's visibly queer on such a day, it's just what it makes you think of. There's no point in having serious anxiety about it, because anxiety wouldn't help even if it did happen. I thought about the chances of it happening and what I would do if it did, and I had a vague plan of action if it did happen, and aside from that, that's it. Cast the thought aside now, because there's no point in it dragging you down all day. But the fact that those thoughts occurred is really, really draining. And then going through the names, the list of the dead, I'm really glad that I know. I'd rather know. I even know the ways that a lot of these people were killed, which I'm not going to go into here, but it's exhausting. It's absolutely, completely mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting. So thinking about it, it's not really any surprise that today I woke up feeling really depressed and tired and drained. And after I realised that this is very understandable, I just thought I'd make a short video in case anyone else was feeling similarly, and in case, like me, they at first thought maybe there wasn't a good reason to feel this way. Not that you need a reason to feel depressed, because, it just happens sometimes. There doesn't always have to be a reason. But in this case, I just wanted to point out that there's many good reasons, and it's really an understandable and normal and valid reaction. So everyone's different, obviously. Even the same person would be possibly helped by many different things on different days for different situations, depending on where they are within their heads and at what point they are in their lives. There's a whole lot of nuance and a lot of variation. So I can't say something that will definitely help, but I can go over what has helped me and what things I do to make myself feel better and to practice self-care when I'm feeling depressed, especially after a day that has been really draining and a day of much contemplation and filled with grief, because that's what it is really. It's a big thing to consider. It's not just sadness and fear and anger we might feel, there's also grief. So these are some of the things that I personally find have helped me. The first thing that I tried that was quite helpful was just acknowledging that I felt that way and acknowledging that it was grief, and rather than sort of berating myself or thinking I shouldn't feel like that, which is never really a good idea anyway, but I accepted that actually it's a really normal feeling, it's really understandable that I feel that way, and I allowed myself time to feel like that. I sat with my grief and my sadness, and I did sweet FA for a few hours and just lay around thinking and feeling sad. And that's okay if you need to do that. That's an okay reaction, that's an alright thing to do. There's no correct way to grieve, really. There's just things that we can try, and different coping mechanisms we can take, and hope that one of them makes us feel a bit better. something that really helped me is finding constructive outlets for various emotions. So I've got a large styrofoam target and throwing knives. And if I'm angry, those are great. Those are very helpful. Dartboard could also be helpful. Just punching a pillow, frankly. I'd quite like a punching bag, but I have nowhere to hang it, and these ceilings don't look very supportive. So, recognizing the emotion you're feeling and finding a constructive outlet for it, I think can be very therapeutic. Art really helps me a lot. I mean, if I'm angry or sad or depressed, there's not a lot of emotions that I can't get out constructively with art. And just, even if it's not something you do generally, just putting pen to paper and literally scribbling in violent rage or adding colours and blending them together to show your grief on paper, that can be really helpful. Venting, even just talking to yourself, just saying it out loud can be helpful. Vlogging can actually be helpful. I spent a lot of time a few years ago just recording vlogs with no intent to upload them or for anyone but me to see them, just because it felt more like I was talking to a person, and that could help me to process some feelings that was having. Crying is an absolutely valid reaction. There is nothing wrong with crying. It can be really helpful. It can release chemicals that make us feel better. It's a very constructive and good outlet. I, on the other hand, can't cry. I've never been that big on... It's not a reaction that gets triggered in me often, and not through any repression. I don't react like that to a lot of stuff. And even less so since testosterone. It's like my tears just feel constipated the whole time. But if that's something that you can do and something that makes you feel better, there is no shame in it. It's an absolutely fine reaction. I find listening to music, specifically with headphones on, quite loudly, and obviously different types of music for different emotions, can really help me. Sometimes it can help to listen to really angry music if I'm feeling angry, but sometimes listening to happy music or soothing music helps. So trying sort of different ends of the spectrum and just seeing what makes you feel better is something that you could attempt. So a little while ago, I made myself I don't even know what to call this, like a hanging thing for when I was sad. And this it doesn't need to look so extra, but I just wanted it to look pretty on my wall. So mine is like that, and it hangs, obviously. And my idea was building a history of reinforcement so I could see that it worked. Because sometimes I know there are things that I could do to make myself feel better, but when I'm depressed, I can't be bothered to try. So the cover's black because every time I do something from this list and it makes me feel better, I'm going to add a star. And then eventually it's going to be covered in stars, and whenever I look at it, I'll remember every time I've done it and it's helped. And that history of reinforcement might prompt me to try it if I otherwise wouldn't. Inside is art, which I did also do when I was feeling bad, and a list of low energy, medium energy, and high energy coping mechanisms that I know make me feel better. So really I'd suggest sort of spending a while and writing down things that you know make you feel better. And it doesn't have to be this glamorous. I just had some spare time on my hands and wanted to do something to feel better at the time, and art helps. And yeah, I like the things in my room to sort of look unnaturally pretty as well as serving a function. So I'm not going to read out all of them because there's quite a lot, but as some examples, in the high energy I've got exercises, sit-ups, push-ups, planking, jog, adventure with the dogs, try some skateboarding tricks, lifting weights, archery, throwing knives, fetch, tug of war, cleaning, dancing, phone someone, sew. And then medium energy, I've got things more like dog training, which I can do with I can just sit on the chair and do it that way with treats. Journaling, singing, writing, poetry, vlog, podcasts to learn, YouTube to learn, Udemy, showering, guitar, piano, talking to friends. And in low energy, I've got things like art, reading fiction, listening to music, listening to audiobooks, podcasts to relax, watching childhood films, gaming, watching transition videos, which frankly always makes me happy, drinking lavender. Oh yeah, I do have the lavender tea actually, it's quite nice. Drinking lavender or chamomile, or just having some lavender oils, something that relaxes you. So, just varying stages of energy, just activities for various stages of energy. Having it written down in something that you can easily look at can really help you to try one and to feel like it's worth doing when you're not feeling so good. I mean, you can just scribble down 3 columns on a piece of paper and leave it on your desk somewhere, and I think that would work just fine. I think something that's very important is reaching out if you're struggling. You know, anyone that knows me knows that my inbox is always open. If any of my friends are watching this and you're struggling, then I know it can be hard to reach out, so it's also okay if you can't. But if you can, it's never a burden for me to receive a message off a friend and to have the opportunity to be able to maybe make someone feel a bit better. I think that's an honour. And just anyone in general, you know, reaching out to your friends, it's not easy to do, especially when you're depressed. So it's not saying that it's sort of your responsibility to do it or any of that BS, but it's something that will possibly help, and if you are able to do it, you know, it's something to try. And for anyone watching who's, you know, not going through a hard time, I think it's really helpful if we check on our friends and if we reach out to them, especially if they haven't said anything for a while, or if we know it's after a period of time that might have been quite difficult. If you're not going through depression, it's a lot easier to reach out. So I think we should really take it upon ourselves to try to reach out to our friends who might be struggling. It's okay to not feel okay. Anytime. For any reason. Especially after a completely exhausting and draining emotional day where you're forced to face your own mortality rather vividly. It's okay to not feel okay. Because none of this is okay. It's okay to have an emotional reaction to things, to anything, especially to days like Trans Day of Remembrance. And it's okay to not have an emotional reaction. If you feel totally fine on the day or after, that's brilliant, that's fine too. There is no right way or wrong way to experience these things. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is just a reminder that no matter how terrifying and dark things seem, our community is filled with beautiful, diverse, and wonderful, wonderful people. And we are so strong. I see it everywhere, every day. Whenever somebody needs a binder, there's so many people offering to help cover postage, even if they don't have a lot of money themselves. There's always people there trying to find a solution for them. And on support groups, I see so many posts asking for support, people giving just that. So many comments supporting the person, offering a space to vent that's safe, offering solutions. It's just lists upon lists of people trying to make this one person feel better with everything they have. And I always see it. For every one bad thing that happens, there's like 100 people trying to make it right. No matter how many comment threads I see where somebody's saying something stupid about the trans community through ignorance, there's so many more comments defending us. From people in our community spending the emotional labour and fighting for others so that the future generation have an easier time than we have. Allies who love their family and friends who are trans. There is bravery and consistent kindness everywhere from our community. Even after onslaughts of hate, and in spite of the many things we have to go through in our own lives, we always come together to help everyone in the community, and there's such a feel of family there. We've always got each other's backs. So if you do feel alone or isolated or upset, even if I don't know you, we feel it together. Whenever we feel the pain for our community, we echo the feelings of thousands. I don't know if it helps, but we're not suffering alone even when we are, because we all feel it together. So we're all in this together. Every situation that feels hopeless and desolate, there's thousands of people feeling hopeless and desolate together. I know sometimes it might feel that way, completely hopeless and completely dark. But the world is changing. It might be slow, and sometimes it might feel like there's no progress at all, or like we go back stages. But it is changing. It's definitely changing for the better. In such a short space of time, I've noticed a difference of how many comments are on our side as opposed to how many are against us. I've seen support from spaces that I never expected to see support in. This world is getting better, and the generation after us, they'll probably experience a lot more support, a lot more love, and a lot less hate than we did. If nothing else, we're blazing the way to make it easier for them. And I think that's beautiful, even if it's hard. No matter how awful things seem, it will get better. For now, just do whatever you need to take care of yourself and to make sure you're feeling okay. And if you're an ally, check in on your trans friends, especially after days that are hard. And just keep taking it one day at a time, because sometimes that's all we can do.